Hi, this is a game that has a little story behind it because I played a couple of games against GymChess, and this was the Sicilian B90, and I played maybe, I don't know, maybe 10 or 12 moves in, and then I'll just let the computer analyze and suggest moves and stuff like that. Then I tried it out in a second game, and this was my third game, and I used the same ideas. I simply memorized basically the whole game that the computer has suggested. So I simply played it out, and so that's basically how you see many very strong grandmasters prepare before games and stuff like that. They simply memorize whole lines, whole games. So yeah, it can be done. I did that. So this game lasted 37 moves, and the time control was just a 3-minute blitz games against, like I said, GymChess. I was black, so GymChess played e4, I played c5, knight f3, d6, d4, c6, d4, knight takes d4, knight f6, knight c3, a6, bishop e3, and knight g4. About 3 weeks ago I made a video about the knight g4 move, and I don't recall exactly what I was talking about, but I suppose I suggested different moves for white, moves like, I don't know, queen d2, bishop c4, and bishop g5, bishop c1, f4, anything. Even a bishop f4 is actually playable here, I believe. Well, I think I saw some sort of idea against that as well. Or maybe not. But anyway, so that's basically what I was talking about in my previous video. But this time I will simply show the main variation, which goes like here: bishop g7, h3, knight f5, bishop takes f5, e takes f5, knight b to c6, knight d5, e6, f takes e6, f takes e6, knight e3, queen a5 check, and this is the start of the whole variation basically. White played c3, but it is also, well, okay, c3 is actually the only book move, I believe. And here's the idea: knight f3 check. And the idea is that after, obviously white will take, and it doesn't matter if you take with the pawn or the queen. The idea is to simply sacrifice the second piece, and although it's not actually a sacrifice immediately because white doesn't take, but he has to take soon, so it looks like black is just down a piece. But after bishop takes c3 check, king d1, I'm not sure if there are any other reasonable moves. I mean, for example, if king to e2, then just a check over here, and if it goes over there, then check over here, and then it's basically the variation that leads to. And also, of course, if check here, if the king ever goes over here, then just check there, and so on. So there's no escape really. So king d1, and now queen a4 check, and this is more or less after queen a4 what I was talking about just a minute ago. So after king c1, and now here's the piece sacrifice. So black is down 2 pieces here. Bishop takes b2, and he might just as well take back, because if white does not take back, well, that's even worse for white, because then there are even more pieces to the attack, so to speak. So king takes b2, queen b4 checks. I was just memorizing all these moves, I mean the whole game, and this move to 21. So if the queen takes queen b4 check, the king moves to c1, and now knight d4 check, threatening the queen over here. So the queen goes to h5 check, king e7, bishop c4, and we can also see here that it doesn't help anything for the white queen to go back to d1, because I also have rook c8 check, and that's just devastating for white. So queen h5 check, king e7, bishop c4. The idea with bishop c4 obviously is to Well, first of all, develop a piece, but also to sort of block the C file. So after Queen C3 check, King B1, Rook H to C8. You might wonder why not A to C8. Well, I'm not exactly sure about that, because although I memorized all the moves and try to understand all of them, but I suppose after a move like Queen takes H6, it's even worse for White, because now the Queen has no how to say, you can't really protect the King as much as when he's still on this diagonal over here, D1 to H5. So Queen D1, the Queen goes back, and here an exchange sacrifice. Rook takes C4 check, Knight takes C4, and we can see that not only is Black down the whole piece, but he's also down the exchange. But of course now White has two rooks and a bishop against one rook and a knight. But the white King is completely exposed, and there's no way to escape all the checks. So A3, just opening one more square for the King. A3, Queen B5 check, King A2, Queen C4 check, King B1, and the checks just start all over. And now King B2, Rook C8, and this is just repetition, and the game was drawn. So if we go back a couple of moves, well, actually several moves, where this whole idea started off, the Queen A5, C3, and Knight F3 check. And like I said, it doesn't matter if White takes with the pawn or the Queen, the piece comes off anyway. So, and now if we quickly go with all these moves one more time, we can see that it's very difficult for White to actually do any. I suppose all this is more or less forced, because again I was analyzing these moves with the computer and then just play them out. So I suppose this is all forced. There really is nothing for White to do, and the game was just drawn like this. Okay, I hope you got some ideas from this game, and something you might analyze yourself. Maybe you've already seen all this stuff, I don't know. But I suppose Knight F3 is a new move to me, more or less, because I don't think I've ever played that against human opponents. But on the other hand, it's not very often that you get these exact variation against human opponents, because I mean, people play all kinds of ideas. Maybe a human opponent here would have played something like Queen to D2, or whatever. But C3 is obviously the only or best move, perhaps. But on the other hand, I don't think that many human opponents would have played this complicated stuff anyway in the first place. So Knight F3 is new to me. Maybe you played it in your games, I don't know, but I think it's an interesting thing to look at.